What's up everyone, it's Dakota and welcome back to another modern video, and today we're going to be looking at an oldie but a goodie, and it's got some new tricks up its sleeve. Of course, as we found out, the modern metagame is very dynamic even when no changes have been made to the format, via bannings. We still find ways for decks that we enjoy playing to find a way to continue to thrive and find success in a very diverse and very brutal metagame of modern. So if you are interested in more videos like this, or you like this one, etc., so on and so forth, and you want to support my channel, please consider subscribing to the channel and ring the notification bell as well so you know when those videos get posted. And if you follow the links in the description of this video, I have two of them. One goes to Discord server. Go ahead and join over there by following the link, as well as following the link to my Twitch channel and following me on Twitch so you know when I go live. So Mono Green Tron is basically been a player in the modern metagame for years. Tron references the Urza's Tower, Power Plant, and Mine. Uh, Individually, these all add one colorless mana, no big deal. But if you control all three at the same time, Urza's Mine and Urza's Power Plant will give you two colorless mana, and Urza's Tower will get you three. Hence why you kind of see the jokes of like 1 plus 1 equals 7. So essentially, what this deck is trying to do is trying to assemble these on turn 3 and then cast one of its haymakers. Karn Liberated being the usual one that ends up getting played just because it uses all of your mana and just like Stone Range your opponent. It's pretty good. Still, there's a lot of like games that you play where like turn 3 Karn is pretty powerful and just can set your opponent back way far. You also have a card like Golos, which is kind of the innovation that this deck has made. Golos, when it enters, searches your library for a land card, it puts it on the battlefield tapped, and you shuffle your library. So, in conjunction, like if you're missing a Tron piece, like on a base level, you can just go get that Tron piece with Golos. Not very exciting, no big deal. The bottom half of its text box is the most important because the deck now plays a Cascading Cataracts in it, which of course you can search up with like Sylvan Scryings and stuff like that. Like you can use Golos to find the other piece, and you have other pieces to go find that piece. But the idea is that you have Tron, you play a Tireless Pilgrim, you go get a Cascading Cataracts. You can pay 5 and tap it and add 5 mana in any combination of colors. So you can essentially then like activate the Golos. You tap like your tower at your power plant, filter through the cataracts, make one of each color, and then use your mine to then activate Golos, exiling the top 3 cards of your library and playing them without paying their mana cost. And in a deck like this, where you just have huge haymakers, your like tutoring package, like your ancient stirrings, your sylvan scryings, and things like that. Even getting like chromatic sphere, stars, maps, relic, oblivion stone, whatever. Like hitting any of these is fine, especially if you're able to, turn after turn, just keep activating the Golos. Avoids prismatic ending, which is huge. Doesn't get taken out by just one fury. Also gets to block really well by having that 5 toughness. Does get unholy heated, but a lot of like the removal that people are choosing to play in the format right now, Golos dodges quite a bit of it. Making it very annoying to deal with, especially if you're kind of like playing the Murktide decks and things like that. And of course, getting to hit any of these isn't necessarily like the worst thing in the world, but if you just get like obviously an Ulamog, a Kozilek, even like a Sundering Titan, any one of your other planeswalkers, it ends up being very powerful, and can just really be a knockout punch if you get to untap with those Golos. And like we stated before, it is pretty likely that you do get to untap with this card, even though Unholy he's probably the best 1 mana removal in the format. There's just times where you can kind of get the jump on your opponent. They're not able to establish Delirium right away, and Golos can just kind of at least activate once, maybe even twice, and really that like it essentially draws you like 6 extra cards on top of it. Of course, like the usual suspects, Sundering Titan, which kind of finds itself in the sideboard, now finding itself in the main board, I'm sure, because of like this Golos just being able to tutor up lands, and again just kind of dig you deeper towards finding some of these haymakers. Cards like Butcher of Truth kind of getting to pull double duty in the fact that like it kind of insulates you a little bit against mill and some of the other decks that try to kind of like play this longer game. On top of that, just like getting to draw 4 cards is pretty big because a lot of the times like you can run out of gas playing this deck. You could draw, a bunch of just like air, you just like cycle all these stars and spheres, find Sylvan Shrines, blah, blah, whatever. Kozilek is one of those cards that, you play it, you're going to get to gas back up and hopefully find like, an Ancient Stirrings or find another Haymaker, like a Planeswalker or something like that, and kind of go from there. Along the Ceaseless Hunger, probably one of the best Eldrazi's that you can play, not named Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. This is just blow up your opponent's 2 best permanents. You have a blocker that they can never really blow by, and then eventually like is going to win the game either by decking your opponent if they just make a bunch of chump blockers, or dead to damages is a 10 power creature. You have Karn the Great Creator, which, is a card that has been controversial probably ever since it was printed in War of the Spark. That lets you get these plethora of just artifacts that are in your sideboard for, varying matchups. You see there's a Sunring Titan here. There's a Cityscape Leveler to destroy non-land permanents. Of course, like giving your opponent a Power Stone, it really doesn't matter. Because I believe the Power Stone has to cast artifact spells and things like that, and your opponents very likely are not playing those kinds of cards unless you're playing like in a mirror. Sphere can lock out a lot of the efficient decks and kind of punish some of the decks for being hyper efficient, just making them their spells cost 3. I believe this works with the pitch elementals, that even though uh, you're casting it for an alternate cost, I'm pretty sure it still costs 3, so they have to have 3 mana available and go down a card as well to, do their Solitude or Fury shenanigans and things like that. You have additional Oblivion Stones and Snaring Bridges because you can get empty-handed. Don't let the Kozilek fool you. There's like a lot of ways where this deck can just like put its things into play, fill up its hand when it needs to, and then dump all those cards because it rarely ever gets stuck with cards in hand that will then actively hurt for having those cards in hand. Or you have the Stone Brain for a little bit of hate against like combo decks. You have Soulless Jailer against the graveyard based decks and some of these other like creature like combo decks. Definitely like a Silent Hoser against Storm, even though we really don't see Storm in the traditional sense in Modern, but definitely the other Underworld Breach type decks. You have Haywire Mites to kind of deal with some artifact hate. You have Walking Ballista. You can just make a huge ballista and just ping your opponent to death. Also, just getting to swing with like a 5/5/6/6, essentially having like pseudo double strike on the turns that you can kill them. You have Tormod's Crypt for additional graveyard hate, engineering explosives for those rhinos and the swords. Chalice of the Void, just because a lot of the times like putting a Chalice on 1, Chalice on 2, or even like a Chalice on 1, Chalice on 2 definitely hoses a lot of people. And if you can ever get to 14 mana to Chalice on 7 to lock out their Murktide Regents, that is not something that I would advise trying to do, but definitely a baller move nonetheless. And the only card that you cannot get from the sideboard with Karn is Boseiju, which is a card that we've seen plenty of times in other people's sideboards and stuff. Just essentially uncounterable, enchantment, non-basic land, and artifact hate that really takes like a very narrow set of cards to actually stop this from happening or like countering it in a way. So yeah, that is the Tron deck for the modern format. The new innovation, having Golos, and of course, as you notice, and I failed to mention in the beginning, so I'm sorry, Jangotha the Wellspring as a companion for this deck. Obviously, this like if you play this, it taps to add one of each color, so like you could activate the Golos with Jangotha's ability and stuff, not having to get Cascading Cataracts, being able to leave up mana, so on and so forth. Just a little side note. Getting to play these companions is very powerful, as we've seen. With essentially like the majority of the companions like seeing play and then eventually getting banned in modern. So, why not one of the most haymakery decks of all time also gets a companion as well, which hence why you see like the Walking Ballista on the sideboard and stuff like that. That's going to do it for me in this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to leave a like on the video, a comment down below what other modern decks that you'd like to see, and of course consider subscribing to the channel, ring the notification bell so you know when other videos like this, Pioneer videos, and other essay type videos get posted to my channel as well. That's going to do it for me. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all in the next video.